Manual processes are a large part of all organizations. Take a look around your own office. Notice how many things rely on paper, folders, sticky notes, and spreadsheets. These are the tools of the manual process, and they're how work gets done in today's business. To give you an example of this, let's look at a fairly typical process found in the area of life insurance. Our look into the world of a manual process begins with a man considering some life insurance. He wants to start a new policy, so he calls a provider and speaks with a customer service representative. The CSR takes his info, keys it into their system, and then prints out a hard copy of the application. This application is then filed and labeled for delivery to the Michigan agents. Now, sadly, the delivery person misreads the label and files it in the Minnesota cabinet. The application then waits its turn to be handled, and only then is the mistake noticed. Meanwhile, our customer has called the provider back to find out where his application stands in the approval process. The CSR has no immediate answer, but starts an office query by asking, "Hey, has anyone seen the Harrison file?" The agent from the Minnesota group speaks up and says that she had walked it over to Steve in the Michigan group. Unfortunately, Steve's been sick at home for several days. Now, when Steve returns, he's faced with a large stack of backed-up work. So he does his best and approves the policy quickly, and then sends it off to an underwriter. A couple of days later, the underwriter finishes the approvals, and a package of literature is compiled and mailed to the customer. Now, the insurance provider feels great about how much service they're giving, but the customer still doesn't know where his application stands. So he places yet another call, speaks with the CSR, who still has no access to the information that the customer needs. This whole cumbersome exercise is full of latency as a result of having to print out paper, stuff it into a folder, move it from desk to desk and building to building. Not to mention waiting for workers to return from being sick at home. There's also an element of human error as a result of putting the Michigan folder into the wrong file drawer. Now, all in all, there are generally high costs of both time and money associated with manual processes like this one, and the harsh reality of these things is fewer happy customers and less profit. But what if there was a way to automate those manual processes and accomplish more with fewer resources? If there were only a way to eliminate human error and latency and increase productivity and effectiveness? It can all happen when you automate that process. Introducing Interaction Process Automation. Based on a proven communications platform built by Interactive Intelligence, Interaction Process Automation will capture, prioritize, route, escalate, and track every step of any process flow. Let's revisit our first insurance example to see how IPA could handle it. We begin again with a man considering some life insurance. He calls the same provider, speaks with the same customer service representative. The CSR takes the customer's info and keys it into the system, except this time we're dealing with a purely virtual application and IPA takes over. The very first step in our process is a data scan where IPA verifies that all the information is valid and correct. In this case, an incorrect Social Security number is found and it needs to be verified. IPA automatically reaches out to the customer using their preferred method of contact. Now, Mr. Harrison prefers email, so IPA generates a message asking Mr. Harrison to call back and correct the error. As the message is sent, IPA starts a timer and waits to see if the customer will respond. And once the configured threshold of an hour is reached, IPA escalates the issue to the second preferred method, which is a phone call. IPA then places an outbound call and connects Mr. Harrison to an available customer service representative. The Social Security number is corrected, and the application moves on. As it enters the process queue, it's identified as a premium customer and gets flagged for priority routing. Now, prior to being routed to an approving agent, IPA determines that he or she must have 3 appropriate skills: to be able to process policies for the state of Michigan, to handle premium customers, and to be able to handle new policies. Based on these criteria, the best person for the task is Steve. However, Steve is sick at home today and can't help. Now, because IPA knows Steve's presence, the application is sent to Susan, the next qualified and available person. Once Susan approves the application, IPA sends it on its way to the next available underwriter. IPA takes the application, puts it in the underwriter's queue, and the process continues until the policy is complete and the customer is immediately notified by email. Now, along the policy's path, supervisors and managers have complete vision as to where the policy is, what its status is, and they're alerted to any delays or errors along the way. With interaction process automation from Interactive Intelligence, you use less resources, eliminate latency and human error, and squeeze costs out of critical business processes, all while making your business more efficient. Take a look at your business and let us help you automate that process.